My name is Kerry Carmichael. I'm an assistant state attorney with the 3rd Judicial Circuit.
My name is Grady Verplank. I'm an assistant state attorney in the 3rd Circuit, centered here in Lake City.
As an assistant state attorney, I'm primarily responsible for the enforcement of any type of criminal traffic, misdemeanor, or any type of felony-related offenses or violations of Florida statute.
As a prosecutor, I represent the state of Florida in all criminal matters, ranging from somebody who puts a license plate on their car they're not supposed to, all the way up to theoretically first-degree murder. I present the facts to a jury or a judge, and they decide guilt or innocence. Well, I had a trial earlier this year. It was a print reporter. There wasn't actually a camera, but the print reporter ended up causing an issue in the courtroom because he was agreeing, I think he was friends with the defendant, and was agreeing a little too vociferously when things that were positive for the defendant were coming out by shaking his head, going, "That's right." And it was actually irritating some of the jurors to the point where they complained to the bailiff, and the bailiff had to tell him to stop.
Well, not so much on any of the cases I've dealt with, but primarily if you think back to the cases involving Trayvon Martin and the things that were filmed and put on court TV, there was a lot of media attention for that. It was broadcast on the news on a everyday basis. You got to see pretty much live shots of things that were going on. To me, if you look at the media as it related to how that was portrayed, it was kind of a distraction to the things that were going on in the courtroom. Primarily, if you remember back or you were able to watch parts of it, the jury members that were sitting, and I'm looking over to my right at where our jury box is, but the jury members that were sitting there were kind of paying attention to the camera at all times. They were aware that they were being watched, so their attention spans were a little bit different. Absolutely.
That's a big argument too.
One of the biggest issues that I would have concern with is allowing a camera to be inside the courtroom filming whenever jury selection is being done. The reason why is the purpose of jury selection is for each side to be able to ask questions of prospective jury members to see if they have any biases or anything in their past that may make them not the best possible juror for a specific type of case. For example, say there's a possible jury being picked for a DUI manslaughter where someone is killed. Well, if a prospective jury member has had someone in their past that was either injured or killed as a result of someone that was drinking and driving, they may not be the best person in the world to sit on that jury because they're biased against the person that is going to be tried. But they may not be willing to answer all the questions truthfully because there's a camera in there filming everything that they're going to say.
Typically, I think it's good. We have an open system. Whenever you have secrecy or not almost full transparency, even if it's totally benign, people are going to start to wonder, what are they hiding? Especially with the way the culture is now, where people don't necessarily trust law enforcement or the judicial system as much. I think we need as much transparency as we can.
Personally, I don't like it. A lot of that comes from the fact that before becoming an assistant state attorney, I was a defense attorney for a while. That poses problems if there is a camera inside the courtroom. There are times when there are objections made and things have to be argued at sidebar. How can I be sure as an attorney that that camera still can't pick up the audio of the things that are not supposed to be coming into evidence? How can I also be sure if I'm sitting at a counsel's table trying to talk to my client that that camera can't pick it up, and then that violates attorney-client privilege? So I see a lot of problems with it from the defense side. From the state attorney side, I don't like it as well because I don't want a prospective jury member or a member of the jury, as a trial is going on, paying attention to a camera that may be shifting or moving. I want them paying attention to either myself or the witness that's on the stand. I don't want them concerned with those distractions. Most of the judges really don't care what they say. Their job is to make sure that court runs smoothly, that there's no distractions. Usually when media is not allowed in the courtroom, they'll sit outside in the hall and try to catch the first person that walks out and ask them what's going on. But for the most part, we haven't had too many problems with that over here.
Everything else, it's a case-by-case basis. Like I said, if there's an issue with children witnesses or children victims, sexual assault, something like that, you don't necessarily want cameras there, make them uncomfortable. And also, too, it's a balancing game. between the rights of the media and the rights of the people to know what's going on and the rights of the accused to a fair trial. And if it's well known that people don't act as themselves when cameras are present, so we really have to find the balance.
I mean, I understand that the media and the public in general has a right to view the things that are going on in the courtroom, but I just think that it needs to be done with a certain amount of caution, because there are certain things that, for example, the attorney-client conversations that don't need to be broadcast. If something is heard by a camera over at sidebar, that typically means that evidence is not coming in front of the jury where they can hear it. So we don't need the general public to hear what evidence was excluded, because then it'll cause some kind of outrage between what the public heard versus what the jury heard.